So lately in the Jujutsu Kaisen manga, Sukuna has returned to his true form, and now that we see him in real time, it's re-sparked my interest in trying to figure out his origin and why he looks the way that he does. You know, 4 arms, 4 sets of eyes, 2 mouths, and he's freaking huge too. And just off of that description, it makes you think he's like 2 people, because that's what it implies, right? And I guess that's one of the oldest theories about Sukuna, him being comprised of 2 people or something like that. Now, there's 2 possibilities in my opinion. Either Sukuna was originally 2 separate brothers, or he was born a conjoined twin. I more so think it's the latter, but the former, I guess, is more popular in the Japanese community, I guess, because they were trying to tie it to more Japanese mythology that has to do with the 2 sons of Emperor Keiko. I'm not going to really go too much into that because I don't think that's what Gege is going for here. Although it is possible, because there are other examples of twins in the series. You know, Mimiko and Nanako, Geto's underlings, who Sukuna has a moment with. And of course, Mai and Maki. So it's possible that that could parallel to Sukuna being 2 people that became 1. And also why he has 2 curse techniques with Cleave and Dismantle. Since Mimiko and Nanako have 2 different techniques completely, but they're, I guess, around the same level of power. And as for Mai and Maki, we found out that the power is kind of split between them. So Mai had to die in order for Maki to have full heavenly restriction, you know, reducing her cursed energy output to 0, which before with Mai around, it was like emitting it to a normal human's level. And I also think Mai and Maki are important to Sukuna because Mai's death sequence directly parallels to Yorozu's death sequence. 2 construction users constructing one final thing for the person that they loved as they died. Mai giving Maki the soul-cutting sword, as where with Yorozu and Sukuna, we still don't know what she did. But I don't think it's a coincidence that these 2 sequences are paralleling, and it could be Gege telling us that Sukuna had a similar instance where his brother had to die in order for Sukuna to become as powerful as he is. And then going back to the sons of Emperor Keiko, we do know that back in the day, Sukuna was warring with the Michizani and Sugawara factions. And they were like the big families back in the day. Like, I'm sure one of them were the emperor. So maybe he was the son of Michizani Sugawara, possibly. Gojo introduced us to this guy because he told Akotu that they're both related to him distantly, and that he actually became one of the 3 big vengeful spirits. And the real life Michizani Sugawara has like a shrine in Japan, and apparently that shrine is what Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine is based off of. And that's really interesting. Either that could just be Gege just thought it was a cool design and just wanted to have everything kind of tie together with his own mythology, or that could subtly be telling us that like Sukuna may have been the son of Michizani Sugawara. Now, if Sukuna wasn't just like straight up a son of Michizani Sugawara and had a brother or whatever, then he was, you know, like we were saying, a conjoined twin. Because Gege has publicly said that he was inspired by the Ryomen Sukuna 2-chan urban legend, where it said that some construction workers allegedly found like a coffin thing that had the mummy of a conjoined twin inside. And after opening it, they like fell sick, and they gave the box to like a local priest because of the bad energies in it. And the priest's son somehow found out that the conjoined twin inside died in the Buddhist monk ritual of like meditating until you become a mummy. So given that that story confirms that he was a conjoined twin and like a creepy looking one, I guess, I think that means that that's probably what Sukuna is, because we also see Sukuna's mummified Buddhist addressed corpse, I guess. Like after he takes over Megumi's body, he meets up with Kenjaku and they come across it together, and he thought it was funny that Kenjaku kept it. So I think that for sure has to do with whatever kind of ritual or binding vow that they're doing in the story itself. But if Sukuna is a conjoined twin, that could be why he wasn't wanted by Michizani Sugawara. Now, you know, just speculating, none of this is confirmed, but I say that specifically because in chapter 237, Kashimo asks Sukuna, you know, did you become the strongest sorcerer, or were you born that way? And I've read 2 different translations for this sequence. In the official, Sukuna says, beats me, but I bet I was a pretty creepy kid. And there was another translation that said, I don't know, I was an unwanted child. So I don't know which one is more accurate. I guess we have to go with the official. And that's fine, because him saying I bet I was a creepy kid still kind of lines up with him possibly being a deformed twin as a child. And given that he didn't have the most aesthetically pleasing appearance, I guess he was unwanted and, outcasted. And that also could go back to paralleling to Maki, who was also an unwanted child and ostracized from the Zhoniin family because she lacked sorcerer abilities. Now, as for him fusing with his brother, absorbing, it could happen through a few ways. So I think the foundation of it was actually revealed to us in chapter 237 as well. Because at the end, it says that Sukuna has a way to prepare flesh only once besides reverse curse technique, and he can do so by resuming transformation as a curse-taking fleshly form, which he had purposely interrupted before. And when I first read that, I was kind of confused by it, but now that I've thought about it over time and I've observed a few more things, I was looking mainly at Sukuna's right eyes, or that patch of flesh on the right part of his face with like the two cursy eyes. Like, this is by far the most cursed looking thing on Sukuna. Like, the eyes are straight up the eyes of a curse. And I think it might look all weird like that because Sukuna was becoming a curse, but he stopped it or interrupted it, and this is what we're seeing. Like, this is the formation of a curse being paused, interrupted, or just frozen. And I guess Sukuna, through his geniusery, figured out that in order to achieve the body that he has, he needed to undergo the same process that a curse does as it's taking fleshly form. So I suppose, like, when the negative energy starts to like become tangible, if it isn't already, and gain tissue and stuff, Sukuna is using that process to alter his body, and I guess his soul as well. Because I always assumed this has something to do with soul manipulation. Because I also think this is supposed to parallel to Mahito. Because in chapter 130, when Mahito is fighting Yuji and Todo, he says, I finally found it, the true essence of my soul, the true form. And then he does idol transfiguration and he completely changes himself. And it says instant spirit, body of distorted killing. And also, I think this one panel of Mahito resembles a future panel of Sukuna. I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just a coincidence, but it does look similar in my opinion. So it's possible that this was foreshadowing for what Sukuna did to achieve his true form. Like, at first, he was just like a disabled person, I guess, as like a conjoined twin. Maybe he did have like 4 arms, and maybe the other brother wasn't even alive. Maybe it was just like a deformed body attached to him with no brain. Because there's some rare instances of that, I suppose, at least with animals. But if he was alive and he was attached to Sukuna, I suppose Sukuna was the one who was like mainly in charge of the body, and he ultimately wound up killing his brother and absorbed him, and then, I don't know, idol transfigured himself? I mean, not literally, but just altered his soul so that his body would become the true form that it is now. Like, fully making use of the conjoined twin status, the 2 bodies becoming one perfect sorcerer. Also going back to Mai needing to die so that Maki could become all powerful. And we also do know that Sukuna has some kind of understanding of soul manipulation, since he was able to compress his own soul from Yuji into his pinky and then like force feed it to Megumi and then take him over. So there's got to be more to what he can do, I suppose. And then speaking of eating, it's also possible that he just ate his brother too, I guess. Since Sukuna does talk about eating from time to time, especially in chapter 238, like when Sukuna's talking to Kashimo in their like death afterlife sequence world or whatever, Sukuna says, I've never needed anyone to satisfy me. I eat when I want to eat, play with what amuses me, and kill whoever's in my way. And then Kashimo's like, doesn't that get old? And Sukuna's like, no, every human has a unique and fleeting taste, which makes devouring them a perfect way to pass time until death. So maybe not, but he's definitely eaten some people in general. And I guess that also parallels to Yuji, because, Yuji eating the fingers of Sukuna, and Yuji also famously saying in the beginning of the series that he is going to eat Sukuna. And I think that was foreshadowing for him, just straight up like eating him like, Chainsaw Man style, if you know what I mean. And Yuji, in a way, is kind of like Sukuna's brother, or a little brother, right? And also 2 people inhabiting one body. Sukuna's soul inside of Yuji, Yuji's soul inside when Sukuna takes over, conjoined twins. I don't think this is a coincidence. It just works too well, And also, Sukuna has the 2 weapons, the Kamotoke and the Hiten. So I think this is all, kind of telling us what he is. And I think that's a pretty cool backstory. I just hope that Sukuna wasn't powerful at first. I think it would be much better to his character if he was born like all weak and disabled, and then, you know, he became strong after he altered himself. And I know that kind of conflicts with Kashimo asking him if he was born the strongest or not, and Sukuna saying that he doesn't know, but that could be Sukuna breaking down the statement and truly thinking about it. Because if somebody asked me that and I was Sukuna, I would say, well, I guess I was always born to be the strongest if I was destined to become it anyway, you know? Even if I was born a weakling. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about Sukuna's origin. Does any of this stuff resonate with you? And also let me hear your own theories in the comments. And if you liked it, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.